John Felt here. Welcome to the first 2026 Blue Water Outlook Weekly Weather Briefing. A lot to talk about, a lot of content ideas as we get into 2026. So if you like my content, please let others know about it. They can subscribe at bluewateroutlook.com. Let's get started. Well, the atmospheric rivers across the western U.S. have really been, for yet another week, the action spot. Last week, primarily California. This week, we're going to have continued atmospheric river Pacific storm action. That means that's going to be one of the highlights for precipitation this week, the West Coast. And you can see that last week. This is where we had our very heavy rain here. We've had very significant snow recharge over the Sierra Nevadas. We also had a very strong clipper system with strong winds across the Great Lakes and Northeast U.S. Matter of fact, this is the snow totals last week. Higher elevations of the west, there's this recharging snow, and also the Great Lakes, especially the lee side. You know, the winds are sort of coming from this direction, so they're enhancing the snow downstream. The Great Lakes are still mainly open, although they're gone from like 2%, I think, to I saw 14% coverage of ice this morning. Also, very strong winds, very strong waves across the Great Lakes over the last week. Now, if you want to see where snow's currently on the ground, here we go. So, it feels like winter across parts of the North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan, as well as the Northeast. So we take a look at the weather pattern, and right now we have this ridge of high pressure in the west, and as we go through the week it drifts off to the east, and we have a dividing line here where we have low pressure in this area and high pressure in this area. If you're under the low pressure, you're generally looking at cooler weather, colder weather. If you're under this high pressure, you're generally thinking warmer weather. And you can see it here. As we go through the week, that warm weather expands to the east and southeast, sort of have a dividing line here, and to the west, colder weather, and to the east, milder. Let's take a look at Friday temperatures, again drawing a line here, 60s and 70s for highs down to the east and southeast of that line, and to the west of that line, look at this, high temperatures only in the 20s and 30s. Okay, so that's temperature. That ridge of high pressure is going to really define whether you're going to have the milder weather or the cooler weather. What about precipitation? Well, last week we only had 2 spots to look at. This week I think we have 3. One will be the Pacific Northwest and the West Coast. We have that very strong system, and that system right here, this one right here, that's going to be really enhancing precipitation in the West Coast. Second area will be, again, a clipper system across the Great Lakes bringing some snow. And then the third system will be right here, the Ohio River Valley. And if you've really been paying attention to my post, that's where models are indicating winter-type precipitation could be enhanced. So we look at snow. There's our clipper right here. Not as intense as last week. Here's our mountain snow. Again, the Sierra Nevada is really getting a lot of snow, especially in a lot of the ski resort areas. Okay, let's look at the extended. Here's week 2. Still a pretty broad area of above normal temperatures in the central and western or eastern U.S. Pretty quiet. Now, the western coastal west, where we've had all that atmospheric river action, I see a big change there. It looks like it's going to dry out as we get towards later in this week, and finally week 2 dry as well. So we could have some relief in that region going forward. Now let's look at, sort of give you an idea of something I've been talking about a bit. This is weeks 3 and 4, late January. Been talking about how we could have some cold air sagging into the upper Midwest, Great Lakes, and Northeast. Still looks like models are indicating that. So we'll see. I have something interesting to put out on Tuesday. Teaser about a volcanic winter scenario. Stay tuned. That's going out on Tuesday, and it sort of shows how that area could be sort of cold, that upper northern tier of the U.S. So getting back into the swing of things as we get into 2026, hopefully y'all will have a great start to the year, and actually all through the year. Hope your 2026 goes very well. That's this week's briefing. Take care.